Hello.
This week we're back with... No, that was crap. I don't like that.
I'm not.
Please.
No. All you've got to do is just get the title right. How hard can that be?
Whatever. Right, okay. Welcome to the Thejamieandstevenshow. Let's talk movies, music and magic. See how it just fell off the tongue. Yeah, said it so easily.
I didn't last week, did it?
Right, this week we've watched Sleeping Beauty.
Yeah.
It was released in January 1959. This is the 16th classic, and she's an old lady now. She's retirement age.
Yes. She's got her bus pass.
She's got her free bus pass. Although I think you get that at 60. But yeah, she's still got her free bus pass. 65 years old.
Yes, you know what that means, don't you? Legacy Christmas ornament.
Oh, yes. And my mum turned 65 in November this year, so she has been all over that.
Oh, so...
Yeah, she thinks she's Sleeping Beauty.
So, any fraudsters out there? You've got the month and the year.
And she's actually going to Disney with my sister for her birthday.
Oh,
yeah,
okay.
So she's got her Sleeping Beauty bag.
Yeah.
She's just to get Sleeping Beauty ears.
Yeah.
And she's...
Is she going to have a crap fringe?
No.
I still don't know what that fringe does.
Oh, I like her hair.
Yeah, but what?
What, the curl?
Yeah, what is it? Because it looks like she's got a curl one side, and then the other side just looks like it's like bangs.
Yeah.
My hair right now, but with curls.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
But
it's as if she's had the roller in, and she's removed the roller,
she slept
and
on
it's
that
kept.
side.
Yeah. Anyway.
Moving on.
Yeah.
Sleep.
So true. So she's just slept on one side.
Slept on one side.
Okay. So she's 65 years, and I think she looks good for 65.
It just reminded me of when we was at the Disney store and they did the singing princess dolls.
Yes.
And I remember one of the customers were asking for one of the guests.
Oh yeah, guests.
I forget where it was. She was like, I need the singing doll. And I said, well, we've only got the Sleeping Beauty ones left because no one wanted them. And went in the back, grabbed it. She went, oh, and what song does that play? And we pressed it. And she's like, oh no. Oh, that sounds like an old lady singing.
Well, I don't know if it was the real voice, but...
Yes, she's still alive.
I know she's still alive,
yes.
She's still going. Mary Costa.
Mm-hmm.
Right, IMDb synopsis.
Yes.
And then you can do yours.
Yes.
So, IMDb, after being snubbed by the royal family, a malevolent fairy... I don't know if I've said that right.
Yeah.
Malevolent fairy.
I think it's pronounced Meghan Markle.
Stephen!
No, I really like her. She has been snubbed.
So a malevolent fairy places a curse on a princess which only a prince can break, along with the help of 3 good fairies.
Well, you'd be pretty screwed if you were a lesbian then, wouldn't you?
Yeah.
Like only a prince can break it.
Yeah, it's sort of what happens.
Yeah.
They've sugar-coated a little bit, but yeah.
A bit.
What's yours then?
So as you know, I quickly wrote this.
Yes.
Because I forgot to do it. One prick ruins everything.
That's a good one! That is a really good one. I know!
Like,
last minute, literally like 5 minutes ago.
No, literally, as you were getting the title wrong.
Yeah. It's an hour and 15 minutes, so not a long one.
No.
Which is nice. We like
Yes,
the hour and an hour and a quarter. IMDb gave it 7.2 stars. Yeah, which I was surprised because when we go into the facts, We didn't do very well.
No.
But yeah, so an hour and a quarter. It cost $6 million. Apparently at the time it was the most expensive film.
It was, yes.
And but it made over time. So this was not at first. But
it was 5 point something million.
Yeah. So now it had made, so like when it did worldwide, 51.6.
Oh, so a little bit more.
Yeah. It eventually did well, but the opening weekend was a box office flop, apparently.
It was actually the film that caused Walt Disney to lose all interest in animated classics.
Oh.
He was already losing it anyway.
Yeah, I think that was clear.
But
which we'll get to when we go to the behind the scenes, because this took a long time to make.
It did, a little bit.
Cast.
Yes.
So it's not like superstar cast, but in terms of Disney, there's a few regulars in there.
Mm-hmm.
So first up, obviously, the title of the film, Sleeping Beauty herself. Aurora is played by Mary Costa, who, as she said, is still alive.
Yes.
Alive and well. And
she's actually the last surviving voice artist from Sleeping Beauty.
Oh, okay. Well, I think she was like the youngest, to be fair.
She's one of the last surviving voice artists of the 1950s animated films.
So I think she was 22 when she first recorded, which we'll obviously get to later. But yeah, when she did her first load of recordings, I think she was 22 years old. And she became an opera singer. Yeah, she was a soprano.
Well, maybe I should go back in time and tell that.
Yes.
Actually,
so
she's an opera singer.
Yeah. Apparently she performed in 38 operas. So, which is a lot.
Because guess what kind of music I've been getting into recently?
Opera?
Opera.
Really?
Mm.
Wow. So you're getting into classical, I'm getting into country. I mean,
what's wrong with the world? I have it on headphones when I'm trying to sleep.
Okay.
And then I've picked on a few that I kind of like, some classical as well. And,
wow.
Yes. I won't sing any though.
No.
Because I'd hate to put someone to shame.
Okay. Well, when we're finished this, I'll have to
thank you.
Give you a list of ones that my mum would probably recommend. Oh, just you wait. The Prince Philip, is by the actor Bill Shirley. Apparently he was, he had a few hits as a pop star at the time.
Okay.
But people will know him as an actor from I Dream of Jeannie.
Which I've heard of.
I've not seen it. Yeah. I thought it was a series like Bewitched. But I think I'm getting that confused with something else. This is a film. So, yeah. But yes, and apparently I watched an interview with Mary Costa, and she said that when he came in to the studio, the females did...
Was it love at first sight?
It did, rush over to get a closer look, because apparently he was handsome in real life. Yes.
So we had to lay down newspaper.
Yeah.
Get the bin bags out.
The fairies. So a couple of regulars.
Yes.
So we've got Flora, played by Verna Felton, who was Aunt Sarah in the previous one.
Mentioned, and unfortunately, do you know what? I tried to find a new fact about Verna Felton, and I couldn't. I couldn't.
Yeah, but the only one I would say is apparently they're not 100%, but they think she also voices the Queen.
The Queen. Because
they don't know anybody else that was in the studio, and because of how early her recordings were done. It's most likely that, and when I watched it today, it does sound like her.
Yeah.
Like she doesn't even try and disguise her voice.
No, it's two words, isn't it?
Something You're Excellent.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because it's after Maleficent
It's
enters.
It's actually her last but one film appearance.
Okay, yeah, because she's going to be in...
We've got The Jungle Book.
Yeah.
Is the final ever film appearance, which is after her death.
Right. Well, as we know, it was probably recorded. It could have been recorded when she did this, for all we know.
Yeah. So yes, this.
Yeah.
I don't think it was her final film role before she died. But I think it might be. It would
close to it.
Been
yeah.
The last. So.
Okay.
But yes, second from last animated classic.
Merryweather is Barbara Luddy, who, again...
I recognise that name.
Yes! Yeah, again, Lady and the Tramp, she plays Lady. And weirdly enough, I didn't think her voice sounded that old as Merryweather as she did in Lady and the Tramp.
Do you think it's because she's kind of put on a bit of an accent?
Maybe.
Just,
yeah. It's a lot more...
Yeah. Well, it's a stereotypical plump lady voice.
Yeah, like as if she was like the cook or the housekeeper sort of voice. But not old.
No.
Yeah. And the King Hubert, so this is Prince Philip's dad, is played by Bill Thompson, who again we had in Lady and the Tramp, Peter Pan, because he was Mr. Smee.
Yes.
And Cinderella?
Alice in
Wonderland, that's it.
The White Rabbit.
Yeah, the White Rabbit. And then, lastly, the malevolent fairy herself, Maleficent, is Eleanor Audley. And apparently she refused initially.
Yes, I've got this. So she turned down the role because at the time she was struggling with tuberculosis.
Yeah.
And she was trying to fight it, and she said she wouldn't have been able to hold out to do the voice. But as it started to clear up, she said yes.
And I think as well with how long this film took, that must have been a factor as well. It's like, well, you know, we're still doing the storyboards, we're still doing the artwork, so yeah, you can come in. We've not done your role yet.
Let's record this one.
But yeah, I just couldn't imagine anybody else playing that part.
It's almost a sexy voice.
Yeah.
But in not a sexy way.
I know what you mean.
It's perfect for that character.
It's because she doesn't scream.
Yeah.
Like Lady Tremaine, it's subtle.
Yeah.
You know? I mean, like we said when we did Cinderella, I mean, Lady Tremaine really doesn't show her emotions until the very end, when she gets quite forceful by locking her in the attic.
Everything else is just...
Whereas in this, she, you know, has big speeches but it's softly spoken, but at the same time, you know...
Well, she's a lady.
She's bad.
She's a lady. She's going to be softly spoken.
Yeah.
And actually, not to repeat what I said in Peter Pan, but guess who's in the right?
What about?
Maleficent.
Oh! So right, okay.
The time that this is set...
Yeah.
To have snubbed someone in her... She's a lady, she's got a castle, she's of importance and standing. To have snubbed that could have been like a thing of war.
Yeah.
So actually for her turning up and going, and then it's Merryweather who goes, we didn't want you.
Yeah, you weren't wanted.
Yeah. Right, love, you've just started a war.
Yeah.
So actually, yes, she was only doing what was... I mean, she didn't kill anyone.
No.
So, which, at this point of history, she was quite entitled to. So, yes. And also, the other thing about that time in history is her horns and her sleeves. Although we now think, oh, it's linked to the devil and things. No, that is how ladies dressed.
Back then, in the 14th century.
Yes. So it was an homage to that era. So Sleeping Beauty, historically
well done, Mark
correct.
Davis. Yes. Right. What do you want to do next? Because we like to switch this bit up. Shall we go into the thoughts?
Well, I've got
facts?
a few bits about some of the actors still.
Okay.
So the live action model for Aurora was Helen Stanley, or Helene. Mm-hmm. She was also the live action model for Cinderella.
Okay.
And whereas most of the other live action models elsewhere for other films still survive, the only footage for this is a clip from one of the episodes of Disneyland.
Is this of her dancing?
This is yeah.
Yeah, and seeing the dress twirl.
Yeah. And it's the only clip of her performance that survives. Okay. Eleanor Audley did Maleficent. And we mentioned Mary Costa, and basically for her, I was talking about how she's one of the last of the 1950s and things. She's the earliest surviving princess. And the one after that is Ariel, and that includes Princess Lunway from the Black Cauldron.
Oh, why? Is she dead?
I believe so, yeah.
Oh. Well, we'll get to that when we get to that
one.
Yes.
There's a few links with that.
Oh, okay.
Right. Also with Mary Costa, the composer, Walter Schumann, I believe it's pronounced, he was at a dinner party, and Mary Costa was the singer at the dinner party, and said to her, I think you need to audition. Yeah. So brought her to the studios the next morning. She sang, provided Walt didn't view her. She didn't. No. Because he never saw the actors behind it. He wanted to just
hear the voice. Voice.
And basically a few hours after she did the audition, she got a call from Walt Disney, who gave her the part. Wow. So 24 hours. Yeah. She went from singing at a party.
Dinner party.
To
being Disney's next princess.
Disney's princess, yeah. She was from Tennessee, so she had a southern accent, which she had to change. Yes. And she almost didn't get the part because of that. Right. Okay. And she had to prove on the phone. Okay. Which she could do
because she could speak
a proper American accent. Walt Disney didn't actually meet her for 2 years.
Oh my God.
So everything was done over
that's
the phone.
Obviously because of Disneyland.
He didn't want to see her.
Oh, right, okay.
Because that would
ruin
his, because he likes to listen to the voice. Okay.
But she is so beautiful in real life. I mean, if you had seen her, I mean, obviously when he eventually did see her, he must have realised, wow, not only does she have this amazing voice, but she actually looks the part. You know, those blue eyes, the blonde hair, the jawline.
Well, the first time that they met was at a recording session for Once Upon a Dream.
Oh, really? Perfect.
So, yeah. Which is probably the scene that caused the most issues in this film.
Yeah, I did read that.
So,
but it's so good. So even though it took them ages to get it right,
yeah, I mean,
it was worth.
I do like the song.
Oh, okay.
With Maleficent, when she's at the dragon form and she's stabbed. Yes. That cry is not voiced by Eleanor Audley. It's reused from the Evil Queen in Snow White.
Oh, when she falls.
Yeah.
Yes.
And just to do a bit of a question. So when Aurora is given the crown. And she's like, but I want to see Philip again, because she's a Mardi cow.
No, she doesn't say anything.
Well, no, clearly in this film.
So, no, she's
upset.
Yeah, she's upset. She cries. She puts her head on her hands. Yeah.
The tears, the crying sound, is also reused from Snow White. But can you guess which character?
It's going to be a dwarf, isn't it?
It's going to be a dwarf.
Is it Dopey?
It's Dopey. Oh. So not only does this poor girl not get to voice that many lines in this film, but when she gets to do an emotional part, She's replaced.
It's by a dwarf.
By Dopey.
Dopey, yes. Yeah, that makes sense because it's a proper. Because, you know, she's just devastated to discover that, you know,
the
she's
guy
not.
Just met.
She's not a poor daughter in the woods.
Brought up by 3 old women.
Yeah, she's actually a princess. I mean, it's like the worst news ever.
Oh, poor her. Poor her.
Anyway, so will we get into the thoughts of the film? Or?
Yeah. I mean, what did you think?
I liked it.
Of course
I did, Stephen. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I loved loads of bits. Oh, the elbows are on the table.
The elbows are on the table. The shoulders are hunched. I'm listening to your opinion.
No, to be fair, you know, I watched it, like I sat and I really did pay attention, and I must admit, why I like it so much is 2 reasons. Mm-hmm. One, how it looks. Mm-hmm. You know, as someone who likes to draw, and you know, I've got art books. I love looking at it, and I'm looking at everything. The trees, how they do the backgrounds. Yeah. You know, they use the that camera. What's it called again?
Multiplane.
The multiplane.
Yes. Couldn't remember that last time.
Oh, yeah.
Camera.
So they're back to using that again. Mm-hmm. You know, the depth, like when she's in the forest, you know, you can really see all the way to the back. Like, it's amazingly done. And the character design as well. Like, I genuinely think she's probably the most beautifully drawn. Like, I enjoy drawing her if I have drawn her. I love her hair, her face, her eyes. Fringe. Yeah, I love the weird fringe.
I'd love to know what that fringe is meant to be. I'd love to see what they were thinking, because it doesn't make sense.
It kind of goes though, curl on one side and then just a bit on the other. It's her. Yeah, I love like how the animals are drawn. I almost think like they've perfected the animals from Snow White to this. And yeah,
they perfected the prince.
Yes, they did.
Couldn't draw them before.
And the second reason I like it is it's got a really good villain.
Yeah.
There is a clear narrative. There's a goodie, there's good, and there's bad. And you know who the baddie is right from the start.
Stefan and Leia for not inviting Maleficent to the party.
No, it's Maleficent. And yeah, so they're like the 2 biggest reasons. And then there's scenes that I enjoy watching. This was a video I had. I don't know if it was a good copy of on video, but this was one.
I had a poor copy of this. Yeah,
but it was one that I did have on a lot. Mm-hmm. The music's good, but it's not like I'm going to say, oh, Ben, put that soundtrack on. But when you're watching the film...
What walks into? This can't be real life.
Yeah!
The music's good.
Yeah, the music is good. No, that whole ballet behind, like, in the background. And I have seen, when I was a kid, I have seen Sleeping Beauty as the ballet. And I was so relieved that I recognised the music, because when you're a kid you don't know that sort of thing. And I thought genuinely that it must be Disney's version because it's the same music.
The Disney song.
But obviously watching it and realising that doesn't happen in the film, and where are the animals? But it's because the music was he used the ballet music. But yeah, where was I going? Oh yeah,
you were trying to
I'm not saying that I'm going to stick the soundtrack on, and yeah, there is really only one song.
Yeah,
it's a good one.
Yes, no, it really is.
It is a good one.
Yeah.
And the fact that they did it to the ballet music, is fab. But yeah, unlike, it's not like I'm going to dance around the house and sing to that,
All hail Princess Aurora.
Yeah. And there's a couple of bits where it was very like Fantasia. Like when they're giving their gifts.
Well, it's funny you should say that, and I bet I can't find it.
Oh, then you got a fact.
I do have a fact with that.
Yeah, so when she's being put to sleep, and the gifts, that's all stylized as if it was a segment from Fantasia.
The original sketchworks were done by someone called Kay Nielsen in 1952, and he was responsible for Night on Bald Mountain in Fantasia.
Okay, well, I wouldn't have said they looked like Night on Bald Mountain, but
it is a fact. I'll have you know, it's one of the most interesting things about it.
Oh, no. Yes. And I do remember as a kid, those bits, where they're like, oh, I give you the gift of song, and I give you the gift of beauty. Like, they were boring to me. Like, those bits were boring. It didn't get it, and rewatching it today, although I've had it on loads of other times, but sitting down and properly, like, paying attention, like, watching it, I felt the same. Like, really, up until Maleficent makes her arrival.
Yeah.
I felt the same as I did when I was a kid. Like,
I would go further and say,
I really want it to start, and it hadn't.
Until Aurora is an adult, I don't think that film starts.
Oh, no, I would say you get the story, what's going to happen when Maleficent turns up.
You could open a book and do that.
Oh.
You could. Just
yeah, and there was a couple of scenes that I thought were, like, basically all the fairy scenes are good, I think, personally. And to me, they're the star of the film. Although I really like Maleficent, but it is the fairies that...
They're the ones all the way through.
Yeah, they're consistent. They're Disney-fied, like, they're not drawn the same.
There's actually a thing behind that. So when we get onto like the artwork thing, remember Frank Thomas and Ollie Johnston?
Yes, of course.
They drew the
great
three
duo.
Fairies.
Yeah.
And they struggled with the concept art.
Yeah, because it wasn't Disney.
Yeah.
Yeah. It wasn't how they
it split.
Yeah.
It split the two things.
Yeah.
You can tell with those.
But it works.
Yeah, it doesn't.
I think it works. No, it works that they're different from all the other character designs.
Well, they're fairies, they're magical creatures.
Yeah, it just like Olaf works. I know he's a snowman, but like he is.
It works.
Yeah, it does work.
Yeah.
It's like I'm trying to think of another example. Anyway, I can't think of one, but there will be things like that where... Oh no, I've thought of one. So how Drizella and Fantasia are... Anastasia. Yeah, Drizella and Anastasia.
Call yourself a Disney fan.
Obviously, caricatures of their personality.
Yeah.
And they're not beautiful at all, and they're not drawn the same way as Cinderella. Or even Lady Tremaine. They are...
very caricature.
Yeah.
Yeah. I believe it was Ollie Johnston and Frank Thomas.
So they did that, probably. So, yeah. So that's a good example. So it does work. Like, they needed to look like that because they were the ugly sisters.
Yeah.
And the fairies needed to look like this because they're supposed to be these nurturing older ladies that bring up this baby... Yeah. Selflessly,
Well, you say selflessly. They wanted a child. They get to go do what they're literally kidnapping that. Because they're not even asking the king or queen. They make that plan.
Yeah, but
they do a little clock thing, and they're like, "We should take that. We should look after it." It's like, whoa, hang on a minute.
But then they go to the king and queen, and they say it, and they agree.
And then they're like, yeah, we'll give up the kid straight away. Firstborn. They don't even have another one.
No, because they couldn't, remember? It says at the start of the story that they struggled.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, they struggled to have a child. Oh, what? Within 10 seconds?
Within 10 seconds.
Oh, Stephen.
Yeah. It's pretty obvious where my opinion is going to go on this. There was only
Clearly. Go on, then.
There was only one Sleeping Beauty, and it was me.
Oh!
No, it's crap. It is crap.
No.
Yeah, I think actually... Do you know what? I will say this. The artwork, if they were prints on the wall, if they were, like, paintings, brilliant. Striking, bold colours. Absolutely agree with you on that one. They're perfect. Just everything else. I like the song, but you know, one song if not a movie does make. And it is a good song. It is a really good song. But to be honest with you, the villain with Maleficent I thought was a good villain. The fairies, I don't really get, to be honest with you. I knew that they're supposed to be like comedy characters, but I think I just preferred it if she was looked after by animals in that forest. Because I actually preferred the owl. And then there was just certain bits, like at the beginning, I didn't think the animation was brilliant. It literally looked like there was pictures of horses that was just being jolted along on a stick.
Yeah.
Story, mentioned before, doesn't get into it until literally she's a grown-up. And I think if that whole segment at the beginning had been shorter, like a lot shorter, I might have enjoyed the film more. But by the time that they started singing about Once Upon a Dream, I was almost there myself. It really,
I agree that the beginning could have been shorter. Like, see the scene where the fairies are trying to figure out how to beat Maleficent now that she's done this curse. That scene, that's a long scene.
I think it should start...
Because you see them as big, and then when she thinks of, oh, hush, we need to be quiet, and she makes them all small... Then the scene continues and it goes on, and I'm sure that's a good 10 minutes.
Oh, it's just, for me, I think, do you know what? Have the whole people coming in, but have the credits over them. Have, you know, like the horses and whatnot coming in, have the credits, have that song. That's fine. Have the first two fairies make the thing, have Maleficent have her entrance. Then have Merryweather do a crappy little spell. I'll make her sleep until true love's kiss. Well, I'm not being funny or anything, but any of her parents would have loved her that much. They could have just kissed her on the forehead.
No, but it has to be true love's kiss.
It is true love.
I know, but she says saying. Specifically a prince.
Yeah, well, she needed to sort that
out,
didn't she, really? And then have Maleficent do all the Merryweather, and then it should be a case of they should scurry away, do the plan, do that, cut to Briar Rose. That's it.
Okay. So, as it is, but
it's
trimmed.
About half an hour too long as a film.
It's not half an hour, but yeah. So,
it is.
Yeah, I think
10 minutes in the clock.
I think the beginning could have been
trimmed.
It could have been cut shorter.
Out. Like Cinderella, where they did just the sketches at the beginning in the book. We could have had that, and then Maleficent kind of...
Well, they kind of do that.
Yeah, but still.
They do that already, Stephen.
Not enough.
But they just... We didn't need to hear the... you know... Hail to the king! Yeah. Hail to the king!
You've sang on every single podcast.
But, yeah, that whole, you know...
Yeah.
To the princess, to the prince.
I mean, I can't help but...
They didn't need that.
It's probably inspired by the fact that Queen Elizabeth II was crowned whilst this was being made.
Yes.
And obviously we got Prince Philip.
Yeah, apparently he's named after him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
yeah, probably.
We probably had all of that, but to be honest with you, we've seen a coronation. It's not that exciting.
No, it's not.
It literally is just a load of posh people standing there in silence for about 4 hours.
While she reads a speech with this big hat on.
It's not fun. So don't animate.
But if that was trimmed, or just edited a bit better so that it didn't feel as long.
I think it really
and then
be cut down.
I think if we had more, I want to see more Aurora in the forest. I want to see more Briar Rose.
Well, it's funny you should say with Briar Rose, because we know that obviously she's the second least speaking main character after Dumbo. But she doesn't actually say anything in the second half of that film. At all.
No.
And neither does Prince Philip. And neither does the Queen. So the Queen's
the last, I think, 20 minutes.
It's near enough the half of the film.
It's just the fairies that talk.
Yeah. And by doing that, I think almost you need to follow the fairies and their story a little bit more. Because you're trying to force this character into being the main character when literally, and I mean literally, all she does after being a baby is she goes out, picks a few berries, comes back, has a bit of a cry like a dwarf, and then goes to sleep.
Yeah.
It's literally all she does.
I would want, and this is where,
she needs to do something else.
She's not, it's there, but they just didn't do enough. I mean, the fact that they had her drawn spot on, they had the voice spot on, they had a good song, they maybe could have added another song, given her another song. With that voice, they should have given her another song. And we should have been more upset by the fact that she does end up pricking her finger after all the fairies have done.
Yeah, at this point,
I didn't think that's where it was like, oh, I'm not devastated.
I think, do you know what, with this film, and I'm going to get hate mail for this and cancelled and everything, but I actually do think, reading up on how this film was made, Walt Disney slipped up. Because it was his choice to want this film to look different. Yeah. Which brilliantly had the artwork. That's fine.
And they had a great guy leading.
However, he wanted the film to be different from the last two princess.
Yeah, which stories, it is.
Which it is, because the princess isn't the main character. And she doesn't know she's a princess. So that whole thing in the woods is almost created for the film. Then you've got certain bits where he's like, because he literally scrapped, I think, 3 versions of this film while it was being made. And then his choice with, well, we can now draw a prince, so let's have him be more of a character. Well, already you split in the screen time. Then being focused on Disneyland.
Yeah.
And pulling away a lot of the talent from this film and then putting them back when Disneyland was open was a big mistake. And then kind of pulling more people over to Disneyland, the TV show, and the Mickey Mouse Club. Yeah. And then having this film kind of sat in the background of all of that, I personally think it should have been scrapped. And just attempted later on, or I just dislike this film. I don't think it's, as I say, artwork amazing, story, characters,
there's don't get me wrong, there's parts of the story I think that could have been done so much better. Like I say, I just needed more of her. Me personally, that was where it was missing. There was more fairies than princess, and it should have been the other way around. They should have been the supporting, and instead I felt like they were the lead.
And you know what? Because of what was said about the animators, Walt actually told them to stop what they were doing, make them less funny. They were going to be more like the dwarves, which would have been fine. It works
but they developed them so well that they became stronger.
Yeah.
Which isn't what Walt wanted.
But because Walt wanted this to look and feel different, he didn't want these fairies to be the dwarves.
No.
And because originally there was meant to be 8 fairies.
Oh, okay.
And then there was 4, and then there was 3.
Oh.
And Maleficent's one of the fairies.
Yeah, she's a fairy, yeah.
There was so many changing because he wasn't as involved as he normally is.
Yeah.
I think he just really slipped up.
Mm.
And I think this film, and the fact that the animation studios nearly closed after this.
Yeah.
And it was the first time in a decade that the company had reported a loss. It's all because of this film, and I agree. It was a misstep.
Oh well, folks. It's going to be. I'm going to do a poll. Who was right, Stephen or me? Like, is it really that bad? Do you agree with Stephen or do you agree with me? I don't think it's that bad. You'll find out our score. I hate to think what your score is going to be at the end. Right, let's get into the facts.
Yes.
Because it's clear our thoughts on this one.
Well, actually, obviously we know it's a long, you mentioned earlier, it was a long production time.
Yeah.
Did you know that it first began in 1938?
Well, I've got it written down. Hold on. Yeah, that they started work on the story in 1951.
Well, originally it was submitted to Walt Disney in 1938 by a Mr. Joe Grant.
Of course he did. Of course. Yeah.
And he produced stories and things like that, and obviously we know that a lot of things went on hold and things like that, so that was kind of put to the back, and then an original outline was set out in 1951.
Yeah, I've got 1951.
And that's when the story work began, the storyboard work, sorry.
Yeah, and apparently the story was done very quickly, as in it was agreed very quickly what the story was going to be.
As in the concept of Sleeping Beauty?
Yeah, as in like what the beginning, middle and end was going to be, and that was all, ticked off.
Yeah.
And you can move on, and then that's when it all kind of slow down.
So the dialogue was all recorded in 1953, and animation also started in 1953 and was finished in 1958, and the musical score was also finished and recorded in 1958. So ignoring the 1938 bits, we have 7 years worth of development on this film.
Yeah. Yeah.
You'd have thought they could have done something better.
And obviously this happens again 30 years later with another flop, which we'll get to in a minute, because I think there's some similarities. It's classed as a flop, yeah.
A flop?
Yeah.
It's not my favourite.
It is. Yeah.
It's not a flop. The original outline in 1951, as I say, had 8 fairies. This was reduced to 4, and the names of those were Maleficent, the Fairy of Darkness. Not going to be able to say it. Tranquility, the Fairy of Dreams. Fernadel, the Fairy of the Forest, and Merryweather, the Fairy of Elements.
Okay.
So she's the only original fairy that remains.
I'm kind of glad to change the names.
Yeah, they're hard to say.
Yeah.
Hard to say. 1952, Walt rejected the full finished storyboard as he felt it was too similar as to what they'd already done, and they all had to start from scratch. The original concept was when Cinderella was a hit, it was like, because it's written by the same person, it was like, right, we're going to do it, and Walt announced that it was going to be his masterpiece.
Ugh.
And it was going to be released for Christmas 1955. You got any more around that era? I feel like I'm just giving a history lesson.
Oh, no, I was just going to point out that it's Mark Davis that designs the cat that has Aurora and Maleficent. And apparently with getting back to the fairies, I've got written down that the dress colour, deciding what dress colour that they were gonna do, make it pink, make it blue, was a real life problem for the animators, because they couldn't decide which. And it's weird because both colours do suit her.
Yes, I always associate pink with her, but I think
that's what they choose to go with in the parks, which is a shame because they should switch it up. She should have it blue as well.
Yeah.
Same with the doll. Well, the doll I had, you could take the skirt off.
Oh, okay, and then
switch it around on the other side, because her bodice was like the one I had. It was like sparkly. It wasn't really like a specific colour, and it meant that you turned the skirt. And and it was if you put water on her eyelids, they would close.
You know what? It's weird you mentioned water on a Sleeping Beauty doll, because I seem to remember an advert.
Yeah, there was a Barbie as well, and an actual doll. Yeah, and there was an actual doll as well, like one of those My Baby Bones that if you one of them you could rub the eyes and they would go to sleep or something like that. But yeah, there was Barbie could do it as well. But yeah, My Sleeping Beauty and her eyeshadow would go purple. But yeah.
Well, the ornament that I have, they did two for the legacy for the 60th.
Oh, okay.
A storybook, and it was Prince Philip and Aurora dancing at the end. And it was released in pink and blue.
Oh, so you could buy. Oh, so that's very good.
Either,
or both.
Or both.
Yeah.
I only got the one.
Oh.
I thought.
I'm surprised you got any. With how you feel about this film.
I needed one. Now, I mentioned that Walt scrapped the original film. There was another storyboard that happened in 1953. And Walt scrapped it, didn't like it.
Okay.
Said you need to redo that. He made so many changes to the storyline and things that basically they then had to redo the story again.
Oh, right, okay.
And in that time, unfortunately, and I only got his surname, but in December 1953, the director, and I got his surname as Jackson, he had a heart attack. So someone else had to take over. So in April 1954, the release was pushed back again to February 1957. And then it was pushed back to Christmas 1957. And then at this time, there was a history of Disney that I've never heard of, but actually researching this film, it's a big thing. And I just never heard it being called this. But it was called The Deluge.
Deluge?
Yeah, which is basically Walt took the staff from the film to work on Disneyland TV, Mickey Mouse, and the park as well. So it went on hold, but there were some people working on Once Upon a Dream.
Right, okay.
Production restarted properly in December 1956, now with a release date of Christmas 1958.
Oh my god.
Can you imagine if this was now and Disney did their D23 and it's like Christmas 1955, we're going to have a brand new
Well,
Disney
remember
princess.
they have done this with that gigantic That was announced at D23 with concept art, and we got, directors of that, like the name director and creator and whatnot, and then it got scrapped.
That with this. I must admit, not having that song though, it would have been a big loss. Not having Maleficent would have been a big loss, and as I say, the visuals to it are amazing. Walt didn't have any. He kind of went to the screening of the storyboard, to the early things where he would normally nitpick.
Yeah.
We've noticed that on previous films where he's gone, no, that needs to be done. He just had generic feedback at this point.
Right.
Animators and directors noted that he was tired. He looked tired. He had other things on his mind. Obviously, at this point, Disneyland had opened.
Yeah, so he would have been stressed with that.
So that's where his kind of thoughts would have been. By the time that the film was released, Once Upon a Dream, that whole segment, cost $10,000 in then money.
Oh, right, okay.
Which is what pushed it to some of the highest and most expensive animation. So it became the most expensive film. Walt actually, after you mentioned it was poor revenue at the time, Walt gave up on animated features and produced, I can't remember the number now, but he did so many live action films in between this and the next one. I'm sure it was more than the animated classics that he'd done to this point.
Right, okay.
Like, he was done with it.
And wouldn't have you been focused on the World's Fair as well?
Yeah, he would. Well, he'd have been stretched.
Yeah, he would have been, because that was early 60s, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Because so that's where we got It's a Small World and the Lincoln and the Autopia. Is that right? President Lincoln.
So, yeah.
It's a Small World and Autopia.
I think so.
Sure, those were the three. But yeah, so that would have been, and that was the New York World's Fair, and I'm sure that's like 61 or 62, something like that.
You're gonna have to watch Behind the Attraction again.
I know, yeah. I'm sure it's because obviously, yeah, he would have. I think he would have been focused on that.
And I think at this point, probably so much had been spent on this film.
And obviously, it will come to where he's focused on Mary Poppins as well.
Yeah, he was done. We mentioned Kay Nielsen, 1952, doing the original sketches. An artist called John Hench was then asked to transfer them into images suitable for film. And then his assistant, Ivan Earle, made some trial paintings, and he was the one that created the square trees.
Yeah.
And this was actually one thing that Walt did really love about this film, and had very much input. Yeah. He said basically this Ivan Earle.
Yeah, Ivan Earle.
Ivan Earle needs. He basically can do.
Yeah. What he took charge, and he directed.
And they had to change. The characters, and Ollie Johnston and Frank Thomas really struggled with that. So much so that they kind of they weren't happy, shall we say, but Mark Davis was fully on board.
Yeah, and you can tell because of how he drew Aurora and Maleficent. They're perfect.
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean, I'm so glad that he made that decision by choosing him. Yeah. And I mean, when I because after I watched the film, I put on the, would you believe Disney Plus actually has the making of this on?
Does it?
Yeah. It's only 45 minutes, but it's a good one. And because it needs more of that. Like, we want the DVD, like, special features on Disney Plus. Yeah. Disney, if you're listening, we demand We need the special features.
Well, to be honest with you, this podcast does what those special features would do.
Well, yeah.
So, you know.
So, in this documentary, like I say, it's not very long, but there's several Disney historians and several animators, including Pixar animators, like Pete Docter. And you've got Andrea Dega, who's Gaston, the animator of Gaston. He speaks, and one of the visual artists from Frozen, he speaks on it as well. I can't remember his name, but they all have, it's just constant positive things about how the film looked.
Yeah.
And to them, as
really good
artists themselves, they praise Ivan for the style and the fact that he, was allowed to keep everything the same.
Walt actually said, it was quoted, where he was sick of paying concept artists like Mary Blair.
Yes, and not seeing.
Finishing in the film.
Yeah, they say that in that documentary.
Oh, do they?
Yeah,
okay,
because apparently, one of the only films that she was part of that is actually her, like, completely her style and is not being dubbed down or changed anyway is Once Upon a Winter Time, that short.
Really?
From the Christmas, that's in Melody Time. Yeah. Apparently the way that the bunnies and everything is drawn, even like the two main leads, the romantic leads, the trees in the background, and they showed that example, and I was like, oh yeah. And then they showed like her artwork for Alice in Wonderland, and then how Alice in Wonderland looked, and the scene that they used an example of was when she's lost, and just before she starts to sing a song, one of the many songs, and it did look different, although I still see Mary Blair there, but compared to her actual concept artwork, then it's totally different. So and I'm glad that, and what's amazing as well is that I love that they also took this artwork of Ivan's and put that in to the Disneyland Paris version of the castle.
Oh, why are you speaking of castle? What's it called in French?
What, the one in Paris?
Yes.
Isn't it Belle de la Dormont? Am I close?
You got the words.
Okay, just not in the right order.
Just not in the right order. That's the quote, guys. Le Château de la Belle au Bois Dormant.
Yeah, okay. Yeah. Castle of the... Because Chateau is castle.
Yeah.
And Dormant is sleeping.
Yeah,
so
Belle is beauty.
Yeah. So Castle of the Sleeping Beauty.
Yeah.
Yeah. Or some people also interpret it as the Sleeping Beauty in the Woods.
No, they need to get live.
So
it clearly isn't that.
Yeah, or something like that, or of the woods, the Sleeping Beauty of the Woods, or something like that. So
it's got nothing.
Because it was French. There's so many versions of this, and there's a French version, and it's called. Well, hold on, I've got it on my phone actually.
Well, either way, it's not the Disney version in the Disney park.
No.
So it's Le Château de la Belle.
But it's similar. It's where is it?
Jamie just wants to prove that she knows French.
No, it's called La Belle au Bois Dormant, or in English, The Beauty Sleeping in the Wood. So La Belle au Bois Dormant.
I mean, it's a castle.
It's so close to Chateau. What did you write? Chateau de la Belle.
Le Château de la Belle au Bois Dormant.
Yeah, so it's the same, except they stick Chateau at the start. So yeah, and as we know, like even, you know, in that castle, they.
Oh, I mean, it's
amazing. That if those who don't know, you can go up. When you walk through the castle, there's a staircase, and it takes you up a level, and there's tapestries, stained glass windows, the book, yeah, open to different chapters, and it's different scenes of the story, and it's
so in the original Disney castle, people thought you could go in, and this is in California.
Oh, okay.
And
so the one he, you know, abandoned the film for.
Yeah. And they actually did build a wooden staging inside so people could walk around and have a look, and there were little what they're called when they're made out of paper, little I want to say diagrams, but they're not called diagrams, dioramas, little dioramas of scenes from Sleeping Beauty, and that proved so popular that they did it as a proper, they kitted it all out and did that, and I must admit it does look good.
Oh, does it?
It uses lighting and false perspective really, really well. So when it came to the Paris Disneyland, they just expanded on that. And I will say that the Paris one, because it uses that art, it just...
Yeah, I mean, even the trees
Yeah.
Are square.
Yeah.
At the side of the castle.
There it is. It's on my.
Yeah, and they used a local Frenchman to make the stained glass.
Yes.
And they are
out of retirement.
Yeah.
He was, God, wasn't he like 80 something?
Yeah, he was old.
Yeah. He was...
Yeah, but beautiful, and the cat tapestry. And there's one in particular, and it's of Maleficent with this spindle, I'm sure, and it's just when Sleeping Beauty's touched it and she's lying on the floor. I'm sure that's a big tapestry, and I mean it's huge.
Yeah, so I mean,
like it's bigger than my bed. Like my bed's a king size, and it's definitely bigger than that, and it's just hanging down on the wall. And
they really, they've really gone that extra mile for such a crap film.
Steven!
The film itself is the last fairy tale film, feature-length film, from Walt Disney to be made within his lifetime. And it's also the last one for 30 years.
Yeah, it's not until Little Mermaids,
Next one. It's the last cell animated feature film to be inked by hand.
Yeah.
However, it does contain some Xerox.
Yes.
Everyone believes it's 101 Dalmatians.
No, there is. They started it in this,
It's the first animated feature to be shot in
Technorama
70.
Yeah.
And the only other one to be shot and presented in Technorama 70 is... Better film than this? Does it narrow it down, does it?
Yes, it's only one other.
Only one other.
Is it Sword in the Stone?
No.
Oh, is it 101 Dalmatians?
No.
Oh, is it later?
A bit.
I can't think.
One of the best films that Disney's ever done. It's like Countdown, dude.
I know, I don't know, I can't think.
The Black Cauldron.
Oh, you would say that.
Of course I would. I can't believe that you would.
Well, can I say, so my comparisons with this, I find, is, and I'm quite surprised that there's not enough other, like somebody hasn't done a whole thing about how they're similar. Because I picked it up straight away. Yeah, okay.
We'll do it. We'll do
when we get to okay, because I feel there is so many
there is and
so we'll definitely do that. We'll make that a special before we do Black Cauldron. It can be like
after.
Or maybe after,
because
there is and if people want to get involved, start sending us emails and see what similarities you think. Just email us Thejamieandstevenshow @outlook.com. Right, I've got a couple of other facts.
Go for it.
Did you discover the fact about Chuck Jones?
No, do you know what? Everything I have now is after.
Okay, right. So, your favourite Chuck Jones from Warner Brothers, who did Tom and Jerry, and some of the Looney Tunes. Mm-hmm. So
not the good Tom and Jerry's, by the way.
Oh yeah, no, I like this version of Tom and Jerry.
The later ones.
The Chuck Jones ones.
The late ones.
Yeah, like with the scientist and.
Oh dear.
They're the best.
Anyway.
Stephen. Anyway, right. So he partially worked on this film.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, because the Warner Brothers animation studio had termites and had to be closed temporarily. So obviously the animators needed to work. And he was one of them. But apparently when Warner Brothers reopened, he very quickly went back because he said he did not like that his work had to be signed off by Walt Disney. He was never used to that working environment. Obviously, whoever his boss was at Warner Brothers, they were just sort of like, that'll do. But whereas Walt, being the main man, would come down and nothing would be signed off until it had his approval, and he didn't like that.
I wonder whether that's another similarity, because obviously with Tim Burton, although Walt Disney wasn't around.
Eisner? Really? I don't...
No, so in the
he would have been
80s...
Because Eisner came in.
You had to do the Disney style.
Yeah.
And his artwork...
Of course, it wasn't...
Wasn't approved because it wasn't the same. So that's why you left.
Could be. Yeah. I think there's other reasons why he left, though.
Oh, yeah, but that was...
Yeah. It's set in France. Yeah. So, even though it's not necessarily a French story, apparently it can be dated back to like the 12th century. Okay. And it's been redone loads of times.
Really?
Yeah. And they've all had their own different interpretations, although it is a French version that the Disney one is sort of based off of. But the Brothers Grimm famously did their version as well, which was obviously, which is very dark.
Of course.
Yeah. I think that involves like her getting pregnant as well. There's a version where she gets pregnant, and I think it's twins, because she's asleep for 100 years. And there's this whole thing. There's this whole thing where, obviously people have sort of, they accuse Prince Philip, he's a rapist. He's, how dare he touch this Sleeping Beauty.
Wow.
But, so that's one of the versions. Philip's shield. Did you get this?
No, all mine's afterwards.
Oh yeah, you said. Right, so it's got a cross on it.
Okay, yeah.
And some say that this is a religious subtext because the dragon represents Satan and Philip represents the good. And so they put a cross. And as we know, we've only recently discovered that Walt Disney was religious.
Yes.
And there is little bits in some of the shorts when we did the wartime.
Yeah.
But this is probably the first one in a major film. Whether it was him, to do with him, I don't think so. I think it was just that genuine stereotype of, God is good, the devil is bad, sort of thing. So cross represents good and horns represent evil. So So there you go. The art direction. So Ivan was inspired by French paintings and tapestries and Gothic French and German Gothic manuscripts and architecture.
It's nice that it's gone full circle that there's now tapestries, stained glass,
artwork
based on his artwork.
I know. That was based on, exactly.
In the country.
I know. Yeah. From, so which is why I thought, I'm going to put that fact in there. The book at the start was real.
I thought they all were.
Well, this, I've not read that before, but yeah, apparently this is a real book and was designed by Ivan.
You mean it's an actual, not just a prop, it's an
actual book, and it's the one that I've seen in the 100 exhibit. That's the real one. Yeah. Yeah, apparently it was put into an exhibit in 2008 and has been on show ever since, and that's the one that's in the 100. Okay. So yeah, it's a real book, so he designed the pages and everything, and yeah, I know, like, they went all out.
I was going to say, they got those money worth from him.
What was the other thing? Oh yeah, Meriwether. So obviously she was going to give a different gift.
Yeah, I did wonder what that gift was.
Yeah, so some believe that her gift would have been the gift of happiness. Because there was beauty, song, so they say that would have probably been her gift based on who she was.
Because, let me get this right, Flora was
the red one.
The red one.
The gift of beauty.
Gift of beauty, because that's flowers.
And fauna is the gift of song.
Is song, because that's
the green
birds and whatnot.
Yeah.
So Meriwether, who would have been what was she? The fairy of cake, I think. The fairy of elements. So would happiness go with elements?
I don't know.
I don't know what that'd be. The gift of rain.
Yeah. Just go. Oh yeah.
You sing again.
the dragon.
Yep.
So the fire.
Yes.
The fire is a flamethrower.
Yep.
The sound that we hear.
Yeah.
And when it claps its jaw, it's castanets. Like, could you imagine them, dancing away there in the studio over the mic?
Someone just walks in, what are you doing? Recording dragon noises.
Yeah, dragon noises. Okay. I bet they would have loved playing with that flamethrower.
Yeah, it was signed off by the military, wasn't it? So
yeah. I know. When else are you going to get the opportunity? I bet they just did that so they, what have we not played with?
Yeah.
Like, what could we make the sound for so we could use a flamethrower?
See what,
Yeah, well, we're going to have fire in this. Yeah.
What happened? Someone literally was watching a film and there was a flamethrower on it. Be like, oh.
Yeah, I think that's all mine. I've just got. Did you spot the hidden Mickey? Is that one of your after ones?
Yes. Okay. I like linking up with the hidden Mickey.
Okay, and then I've got a question for you at the end.
Well, I'll tell you what. I'll let you say the hidden Mickey, and then I'll go into my after. Okay.
So, and I actually spotted it.
I was asleep.
So. And then when I checked, was like making notes of my facts, it then came up as a fact. But I actually found it. I was so proud of myself. I paused, rewind, played it again, paused it.
Watched it again.
Yeah, and then I was so chuffed because I never spot these hidden Mickeys.
No.
But I saw this one. And yeah, it's when they're deciding how they're going to help stop Maleficent's curse, and they've now gone small, and Fauna has made tea. She's magically appeared tea, and they're all hard work trying to figure out how they're going to stop the evil fairy. And Meriwether creates a Mickey shaped biscuit to have with her tea, and she just plucks out of the air. She actually does it twice, but it's the second one that's clear Mickey.
No.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, it is, Stephen. So
Trigger.
Don't.
Yes.
Mickey
head.
Yay! And the fact that you can get those biscuits now.
Oh,
I know.
They're amazing.
Yeah. They're like shortbread.
Yes.
Yeah.
So yeah, one of the things, just as the after bits, what I like to do, we mentioned the castle at the Disney park, but also Maleficent as a dragon appears in Fantasmic.
Yes.
The parks, and also in parades, meet and greets and things.
Yeah, although she's not allowed to blow fire now.
What?
Yeah, because she went on fire. That happened last year.
Oh, but she's not.
Yeah, that stopped. Health and safety. I know.
Health and safety.
I mean, that paper dragon was up in flames. So, well, it wasn't paper, but whatever it was made with. But yeah, and like...
Well, anyone wants to see a really fascinating dragon can go underneath the castle.
Oh, yeah, because it's not Maleficent.
No.
But yeah, underneath the Sleeping Beauty Castle in Disneyland Paris, there is a dragon chained up in the cave. And it's really good.
Kinky.
But it's one of those that's always being refurbed.
Do you know what? Every time I've gone, it's been open.
Well, but it's because maybe you've gone like once a year. But like, because
I went not there every day.
I went 4 times last year, and I think it was only open once out of the 4 times.
First time.
Oh, did you?
With this one afterwards, it was re-released. It's another one of those films like Alice in Wonderland where it wasn't released while Walt was alive.
Yeah.
The re-release came in 1970, then in 1979, 1986 and 1995. There was going to be a re-release in 1993, which was advertised on the 1992 Beauty and the Beast VHS. However, because the re-release of Pinocchio did really bad, they scrapped it.
Okay.
It first came out on VHS and Laserdisc in 1986, which meant it was the first animated classic to be digitally processed in hi-fi stereo.
Wow.
The technology came.
Yeah.
First on DVD in 2003 and first on Blu-ray 2008, and it was one of those that was first on Disney Plus on opening day.
Yeah, I must have had the 1986 version. That's probably why it was so. It wasn't the best quality.
In the UK would have been after 1980, so you probably had the UK one.
Yeah. Because
that was released in the 90s.
I had it before that though, so it must have been a pirate.
Yeah, I was going to say mine.
Yeah.
Mine was in a cardboard sleeve.
Yeah, mine was not in a legitimate box.
No. And my last little bunch of facts, because I do like to have a few hidden Mickeys elsewhere.
Yeah.
Things. I'm just going to concentrate on the film Wish.
Okay.
Because I love that film and it's still not on Disney Plus.
I know, I don't get that.
It's coming to DVD and Blu-ray at the end of March.
This is probably the longest film, the longest it's taken for them to put a film on Disney Plus that's new.
Yeah.
Because I thought it was being released in January. Yeah. Because I see it.
Yeah.
And it's still not here.
Yeah.
So I think they did have intentions to do it, but somebody has said, no, do you know what?
Do you know what? I'm this close to buying the Blu-ray.
Right, yeah, to be fair.
Right.
Yeah.
And I might buy it from one of those websites that deliver 2 days early, like Zavvi.
Yeah.
Rather than Amazon.
Yeah.
This close. The main one is The Green Magic by Magnifico.
Uh-huh. Oh, yes. It's like Maleficent. Yes. Yeah, definitely.
And his name is similar.
Yeah, Magnifico, Maleficent, yeah. This is the thanks I get. Do.
Dahlia's apron has got spots of pink and blue on it.
Oh, okay.
And it is inspired, their outfit, although it is mainly inspired by Seven Dwarfs, is also inspired by the Three Fairies and what they wear.
Okay.
So one of the characters are sewing Aurora's dress in one of the bubbles.
Okay.
I thought it was Cinderella's, but it's not. It's
right.
So if I mention that in Cinderella's, I do apologise. The look of Wish was inspired by Sleeping Beauty. The artwork,
yes.
the colours and everything.
Yeah, definitely.
And Wish also uses the same aspect ratio as Sleeping Beauty.
Yeah, the wide.
The 2.1.1.
Yeah, whatever it is, yeah.
So yes, it shares a few things. Obviously, we see it in things like House of Mouse and the usual.
Yeah.
No sequel.
Thank God. Did not need a sequel.
Can you imagine if I had enjoyed the sequel?
In saying that, though, obviously it has a live action.
Well,
technically.
Yes, the two Maleficent films.
Yeah.
That was a waste of an hour and a half.
When I first watched Maleficent, I must admit, I really enjoyed it. Like I think I went to see it with Jen.
Yeah,
and we did enjoy it. But second one, why?
Money.
It was really bad.
Yeah.
They just got away with the first one, and the fact that they turned what was supposed to be fans' favourite villain soft.
Sorry.
And now when I watch it, I can now see why so many fans didn't like it, and now it's like classed as one of the worst. Like when I've read like other people's opinions on the remakes, Maleficent always comes up as people's like pet peeve in regards to the remakes, and it's because they make her good.
Yeah. If you want to see a good live action remake spin-off kind of thing about a villain, watch Cruella. It's better.
Yeah, although it's not a remake, it's a prequel, so it's on its own film, you know, but
it's still good.
Whereas when I went to see Maleficent, I thought it was going to be about Maleficent. I was not expecting to see, and I'm sorry, you know, Elle Fanning, don't get me wrong, you're a good actress, but you don't look like Sleeping Beauty. And like, from what, whereas, you know, when like Angelina Jolie was announced as Maleficent, I was like, oh yes. Yeah. And then those first pictures of her in that with the head thing on, I was like, oh my God, couldn't have picked anybody better. Oh,
the voice was spot on. I mean, for me, you've just said the actress's name, but the actress who played Sleeping Beauty.
Yeah, Elle Fanning.
Now, I'm not. The type of beauty that she has is very natural beauty, very organic.
Yeah, like she could almost be a fairy herself.
Yes. Now, that would suit the character of Briar Rose. However, what we've got to remember is Briar Rose doesn't exist. She's actually a princess.
Yeah.
So really, she should have had more of a princessy, standardised kind of beauty about her.
Yeah.
Because then she would have looked out of place.
Yeah.
So you would have had that inkling.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, unfortunately, I just didn't.
Yeah, when I rewatch it now, I can see now why people don't like it, and I try and not really associate it with the Sleeping Beauty story. I try and watch it as if it's its own film and not separate. If I do watch it, because like my mum watches it a lot, she likes it.
You've mentioned your mum 3 times.
I know.
I know.
She'll be pleased.
Yes.
Yeah.
Shout out. Oh. Hi. Don't say hi back. I can't hear you. She's doing it now.
I know, don't. But yeah, I mean, hey.
Look forward to the text.
Listeners. So if you're listening, you know, did you like Maleficent? Like, what did you think? And, I mean, they're talking about this Moana remake again, live action, and we're getting number 2. Do you think Sleeping Beauty should be remade properly? I don't know. Let us know what you think. I don't think it should be. I think it should, but I'm not all for the remakes anyway. This is one that I don't think should be remade because I don't think I like how it is, and I think it would take away what they've gotten from it. So even though to some it's not the best story and the best character developments in regards to the lead or the main princess, in terms of villain, a song, and the look, we all still have that, and it's quite a big part in the parks and in Disney now. I mean, Maleficent is like most people's favourite villain when they say who's your favourite villain, and they will, and like, well, when we were at Disney last year and they did that villain night that we were at, she was like made as like the queen of the villains, and she was put on this box where she stood there and you could take your photo almost like she was on a throne of her own, and that she was in charge of the whole park.
I think she was at the Halloween show at Mickey's Not So Scary Halloween.
And obviously, like you say, she's Fantasmic, you know, the dragon. So
no, I agree. I think image-wise, I'd have pictures of Sleeping Beauty images on the wall. That would not faze me whatsoever. And
a tapestry?
Yeah, why not? Better than Lady Gaga. Currently have.
So, out of 5?
I'm going to be generous. And give it a 2.
Okay.
And it's only because I did enjoy it more than Make My Music. Those war ones. But I would rather stick on Snow White.
Okay. Oh.
Yeah.
Right.
I'd rather stare at a blank screen.
Okay. Well, I'm giving it a 3.
Oh, okay.
But it's a strong 3. Like, it would have been a 3.5.
She's been.
But
the wine's out.
Yeah. Well, I've given my thoughts on the film, so yeah. Before we leave, I just have one last question. What colour does the dress end up in at the end?
Blue.
Wrong! I will end it there. Thanks for listening.
And now, a message from our AI overlords.